We'll give it a minute. All right. Okay, we'll go ahead and start, and we'll rely on closed captions to aid us through the video. But aloha and welcome everyone again. We have a very full agenda this evening, so we'll do our best to get through it and give you enough time to ask the questions during our Q&A session. Just a few announcements as usual. We have our prayer table there, and our team here. We brought all our friends to help us with questions this evening. We'll take you through the evening as best we can. When we get to the Q&A session, just raise your hand and we'll send the microphone over to you. Call 211. We always want to remind everyone, in case you're new, call 211 to access the disaster case management help. You get a real person to help you walk through it. So this is a terrific program, an easy number to remember. And we like to remind you from our friends at the Department of Housing Health Services from the state. I know I saw them. Is Krista here today? Amalia? Okay. All right. They're our champions of it. And MauiRecovers.org is our website, and 24/7 we have crisis counters available as well. And here tonight, waving in the white sweater, is a crisis counselor with us. If you want to talk, sorry, with someone or you need support, please don't hesitate to visit her. And if you want to join a prayer group, they are there as always on the white table at the far end. We have a few announcements before we get into our agenda. We have our second virtual homeowners webinar. We've been talking about it for a while. The first one was pretty successful. Had hundreds of people, I'm told, 400 or so people attending. And our team presented online. It allowed folks who are off island to participate if they temporarily have to live elsewhere on another island or on the continent or elsewhere in the world. So this was a great way. We want you to scan the QR code to pose your question so that the teams can prepare appropriately. But this meeting is tomorrow night, Thursday, June 27th, 5:30 online. The link is on MauiRecovers.org, I believe. Is that correct? Okay. There is a mortgage assistance event. This question comes up practically every week, if not every other week. On Friday, this coming Friday and Saturday at the Hyatt Regency, there will be a DCCA workshop. We also have some flyers right here in the front row, a stack of white papers that the Department of Consumer Affairs left for us. Please take one or take a photo of this to remind yourself that there is going to be a workshop for mortgage assistance coming up this weekend. We also have language translators here. Oh, okay. They're standing there. They're great. What are the languages tonight? Okay, Spanish, Tagalog, Ilocano, and Tongan. We have translators for you here this evening to support you in any way that we can. As we've been announcing on Saturday as well, it'll be a busy weekend at 3 o'clock. Lahaina Luna School Cafeteria will be the workshop for historic and business districts. This is the neighborhood planning workshop. This is our final workshop of this type. All are welcome to attend if you have an interest in Lahaina, for Lahaina residents, of course, historic and business districts. Please attend, participate, and go. The doors open at 2:30. They want to start at 3. So please do your visits quickly so they can start readily at 3 o'clock. We have our planning director, Kate, here tonight if you have a question later on this. So tonight we have a full agenda. Before I turn this over to Mayor and Councilmember Paulton, we're going to get an update on the debris removal. We're going to hear from 4Leaf about how permitting is going. Department of Health has a great new environmental monitoring portal they want to talk a little bit about this evening. We have a team here from an organization that provides a service for those who have ineligible debris removal needs. And of course, we brought in our team to talk about evacuation management planning. We have Maui Emergency Management Agency, Maui Fire Department, Maui Police Department, and the Director of Public Works to help us talk about evacuation management planning. I'm going to turn this over to Mayor to begin. And while he's walking up here, there is a flyer. Just a reminder, this weekend, Kaya Ulu is having the affordable housing lottery, and we have information. Where is this? At the very end. Oh, there. Okay, stand and wave, just so everybody know where you are. Please see them. They will give you information about the housing development that's coming up. Thank you for coming. Mayor?
Aloha Lahaina. Thank you folks for coming out today. I want to acknowledge members of our advisory team, Kim Ball, Kaliko Storer, and Earl Kukahiko. Thank you folks for coming. You may not know, but they also come to meetings on days that are not named Wednesday and are out in our community. So I'm really grateful that they come to these events as well. Earlier today, I was in the impact zone with Colonel, with Allison from FEMA. I'll let them share more about anything. What I wanted to report on was that Gene Milner on Malanai Street, your neighbor, Earl, has his home, oh yeah, Gene's here with us. He was just with us a little while ago. His home is coming up. The walls of his house are up. He's poured his slab, so congratulations on being the first resident rebuilding his home. Not far, well, I guess nothing's really far in Lahaina, but on Komomai, also Kim Ball's home. He's also in the process of rebuilding, getting ready to have his slab poured in the next week and a half, and get going on his home too. So congratulations to Kim too. I just wanted to report out on that. And I guess what I'm here to say is that can be you. That can be any one of you. I know there's some issues that we got to work through on some of the financing, some of the insurance, mortgage issues that are out there. And I think we're going to want to transition to that phase of how we can help you folks. Now that your lot is cleared, now what? Now you got a permit, now what? Right? Let's talk about those challenges, and let's have our people start working on some case management. Some people have never built a house before. It's not the easiest thing to do. Where do you start? Where do you go? How do you start it? So we're recognizing that those are the challenges that are happening now that we've come through. Excuse me. Now that we've come through some of that, now we got to talk about how do we get people back. I just wanted to point out the first two examples of those who are out there sort of setting the way for everybody else. The other thing I'll report on is we've put a bill through to the Maui Planning Commission, and if you'd like to take a position on converting the Minatoya list, and I hate to bring up this sensitive subject, and this is not, unlike what people think, intended to divide our community, but rather to maintain our community and keep our community here. If you have any position on it, I don't need to know what it is today or here, please submit your testimony to the Maui Planning Commission so they can factor that in. There's a lot of decision making that's going to be ahead, but that also happened this week, just yesterday. So of course that's a sensitive subject that impacts you folks right here in this room. And so again, if you want to share your mana'o, you want to share your testimony, you're welcome to do that. Those are the only two things I really wanted to report on. You have all the subject matter experts that you have a question for. I'm not expecting even one question from you guys tonight, because you got all these guys that you can ask these questions to that I will defer to. Kidding, feel free to ask all of us questions. At this time, I'd like to introduce your council member from West Maui, Tamara Paulton. Please, nice hand for council member. Thank you, Councilman. How are you doing?
Good. Aloha mai kakou. I don't have much update for you tonight. It's not a committee week. The temporary structure bill got pushed back a little. So, I mean, the only real message I have is that, you know, in the rebuilding of everybody's house, let's make it an opportunity to rebuild our community as well. So many of you I see here every Wednesday night. I see you out in the community, and everybody's successes is all of our successes. And whatever we can learn from the first guy with walls up, let's learn it and pass it on to the next guy. So that's all I really had to say tonight. We're not just building houses, we're building back our community.
Good evening, Maui families. I'm Erin Wade with the Department of Management. Before you knew me as the ROE lady, I worked with the Department of Management on the countywide public art program. So I'm going to share a little bit about the Office of Recovery space that's going to be opening at the Gateway and what's coming for that. So at the Lahaina Gateway space near the Ace Hardware. So on the Ace Hardware end, two from that side, the building's kind of got a green front. That's the space that we'll be in. And the idea for the space is to have lots of folks who have support services that can help you throughout the process. So be patient with us because the space is going to be evolving, but the goal was get it open and get a space for you here now. So you'll see as your needs evolve, the folks in the space will transition and evolve, but all of it is there to support you. So I just wanted to share from the public art, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. We did do a call for Maui artists to support us through this, and we requested Art for Hope to be provided and created within the space. So we did have 12 artists contribute beautiful works that are in this space that we can't wait for you to come see next week at the same time. So next slide is about the open house. So next week, in lieu of the community meeting, we'd like to invite you to the space for an open house where you can meet the folks that are going to staff the facility, as well as the artists that have provided their works. So hope to see you there. Thank you. And I'll introduce Colonel Swinson. So yes, 4-leaf will be there as well.
Thanks, Erin. Aloha, Lahaina. Oh, come on, we can do better. Aloha. Thank you. I'm going to deliver some good news. First, I'm going to start with a thank you. I just want to thank everyone in this room for two things, well, for many things, but for two tonight. The first one is for your patience and understanding as we send heavy trucks up and down these roads. And as we take our time to safely remove the debris from Lahaina town and in many cases from your property. I know that that you're all excited to get back to your properties, and we are working as fast and safely as we can. But I just appreciate your patience and giving us that space to work as efficiently as possible. The second thing I want to thank you for is your support in helping me and helping the county get all of the rights of entry for this work that we're doing for debris removal for both residential and commercial. So I'm just going to run down some quick numbers here. As I've said for a couple weeks, the denominator that we're chasing for residential properties is $13.99. And as of today, the Corps of Engineers has received from the county 1,392 rights of entry for those lots. So we are 7 short of having every single residential property in our program, and we are really close to getting those last 7. So that means if you have a residential property here, and if it's not cleared yet, it'll be cleared soon. For the better news, of that 1,392 that we actually have, those rights of entry we have cleared of debris 1,289 lots. Which is great news. That's 92% cleared. So 92% of Lahaina town for residential has been cleared. And we've completed 63. So 63% of the residential properties in Lahaina town have been cleared of their debris, have had their soil tested, have had erosion control put down, the paperwork complete and handed back to the county. And so 63%, which is 891 lots, are eligible to start the sort of re-permitting, the permitting process. So fantastic. We're making great progress on our what we call capital C, our complete lots. Now for commercial, granted we started commercial a month later. Our denominator we're chasing is 159 commercial lots. We have rights of entry for 98 of those lots, and we are working hard to get the last just shy of 60 ROEs, or right around 60 ROEs. We're working with the county and working with landowners. Of the 98 that we have, rights of entry that we have cleared 50 of those lots. So that's about 50%. And that's 31% overall. If we had all 159, that's 31% overall, which is fantastic. And then for capital C, we're at 23, but there's about 24 more that will be capital C shortly. We're just doing some final inspections, verifying the erosion control, and handing the paperwork back to the county. So here in the next couple days, we should be close to 44 capital C, making great progress. Also, just quickly, we are working hard on Lahaina. That's our 169 unit housing space up Malka of the Wahikuli neighborhood, and that is making great progress. I know 169 housing units will not solve Lahaina's housing shortage for those who are eligible survivors, but it is a meaningful step in the right direction to get homeowners, landowners, residents here back into more permanent housing while Lahaina town is rebuilt into its likeness. So again, I just wanted to thank you for all your support to the Corps and your patience. And with that, I'll pass it off to Mike Renner.
Thanks, Colonel. So I've, real quick, I've done every fire since 2017 on the mainland, and this is the quickest I've seen any cleanup move. So congratulations. My numbers are much smaller, as you can see. So we've had a lot of traffic in the permit center, a lot of people in and out. We're really excited to be able to start staffing the Lahaina Center so we can have resources on both sides of the island for you. So in review means basically in plan check. So there's 71 projects that are in plan check, going back and forth with the architects or engineers and working on the permit. We actually issued another permit at the end of the day, so we have 23 issued. And there's also another foundation that went in on Komamai on Tuesday, the Alexander's property 156. So there's 3 ready to go, and we're gonna see a lot of sticks in the air by August 8th. So real quick, I wanted to add, I know it feels slow, everything feels slow. Every other major fire since 2017, the first permit has not been issued until at least 1 year after the fire, and we've never issued permits while the cleanup was going. So this is really breakneck speed, and it's really impressive. I know it feels slow, and that doesn't help, but you're moving fast. So this is an important update and a little bit of a change to the process. So generally speaking, when you go and apply for your permit, you need to have your plumbing contractor and your electrical contractor in place prior to issuance of the permit. We heard a lot of feedback of there aren't that many plumbers, there aren't that many electricians, we don't know who we're going to use yet. So that's going to now be required to have that in place prior to the first plumbing inspection and prior to the first electrical inspection. If there's any questions about that, you can always call me or call the center. And that's it. That's the main number right there. That's my personal cell phone on the bottom. It's on all the time, and I'll be available for questions.
This one? All right. Contact information, Mike's personal cell number. Is that correct, Mike? 270 is a county number. Oh, you guys pay attention. Okay, 925. Just checking if you're paying attention. 925-785-3581. Please don't text him to buy something you're selling. He is your friend in permitting, 925-785-3581. They had our Office of Recoveries and the county's permitting center. Up next, I'm going to call Nancy from Department of Health.
Aloha, Mai Kakou. I'm Nancy Conbar. I'm with the Environmental Management Division of the State Department of Health. My title is Wildfire Coordinator, and what that means is I work with all of our programs from air to water to drinking water and anything to do and try to facilitate response and recovery. We're really excited tonight because we finally got up our environmental monitoring data portal. And I'm going to get into that in just a moment, but real quickly, that's my contact information. And the environmental.data@doh.hawaii.gov is if you have any questions about what we're presenting tonight, write to that email address or give me a call, 586-4502, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. So this is probably the only slide with a lot of words that I'm actually going to try to convey to you. The other slides, we have a lot of words and information just to let you know that they're there on our site. And mostly, this is really important because we've developed this portal because a lot of people are doing environmental monitoring as well as DOH. Corps of Engineers is monitoring their work. We've had community partners such as Huioka Biola, Maui Surfrider, University of Hawaii is doing stuff. We want to get all this information for all the different, what I call media, environmental media, water, air, soil, all in one place. So it's a one-stop shop for you to get at the data. We present the data in a lot of different ways, words, charts, graphs. So if you receive the information differently than your neighbor does, and hopefully one of these ways will work for you. We explain why we're sampling and for what and for why we're sampling for those particular things. And then we try to give it some context. What does it mean? What's it means in terms of health and the environment? The punchline on all this, what I'm really happy to say, is that while the ash is indeed hazardous, it's not getting into the environment. And this credit to the Corps of Engineers for really good dust control measures. EPA got the soil tack down. So it's really quite good news that we're not having any significant levels of these substances in the environment. Closer on the mic, thank you. Okay, this is probably your most important slide. That QR code takes you to our environmental monitoring data portal that I'm going to briefly introduce you to tonight. Again, here's the address, email address where you write for information. So if you scan that QR code, you'll be able to see everything that I'm presenting tonight and in more detail and a lot more slowly than I'm doing it tonight. So this is what we call the landing page. To get here, you are able to find out where we're sampling. These are all the different locations that we're sampling, the different types of areas where we call them focus areas, the type of data we're collecting. So we have air data, we have ash and debris data, beach sand data. Recall I was back here a couple months ago with Kathy Ho. We said we'd be sampling the beaches. We did. Those data are on this web page for you to take a look at yourself. Coastal waters. And we also, again, in the spirit of sharing information, are cooperating with the county and USACE, the Corps of Engineers, to put data up about the TDS. Again, one location for y'all to look at it. The grayed out areas, talk about coral reefs and other things, are data we want to add eventually, but we don't want to delay getting information up here. Some of them we don't actually have data for yet, but as these data become available, it will be on this web page as well. This is, I think, something we in science call conceptual site model. What basically means is we took a look at, what happened, and then where could those hazardous substances we found in the ash, mostly heavy metals, where could they go and how, and then that guides us into what we will sample for. So that's just a picture of how we thought about that, right? The ash could run off into the water it could go into the air. So those are the types of things we're sampling for. Before I leave this main page, want to point out we have other sub-pages, what we monitor, go into detail about that figure I just showed you about what goes into the environment where. We also have a page about if we have any health advisories, which we don't really have any right now except the ongoing drinking water advisories, which they're working very hard on clearing those with the help of EPA in their lateral sampling. This, again, I know you can't read it, but I just want you to know it's there. It's a chart. So when you're thinking about how these substances you could become in contact with and whether it's of a concern or not, this explains why. So I know, well, I understand that I wasn't here last week. There was a question about, fruit trees. Can you eat the fruit off the fruit trees? This explains to you that while the ash may have been the root zone of the trees are below where they could come into contact that, even if they were at high enough levels to be of harm. They're not, but even if they were. So there's all those types of questions are answered in these charts. Okay, here's the landing page for air as an example. We talk about all the things we're sampling for, the particulate matter, the dust, you see, metals, asbestos, we have it for Kula, and we have it for previous work done by EPA before DOH took it over. And you can click, that's another important neat thing about this web page is all this data you can click and download yourself. You can look at our charts and our figures, but if you want to look at those directly, you can do that as well. Again, this is where I mentioned where I'm going to go very, very fast because this is just ways to show you what various ways that we show the data are there. So here's your particulate matter. The top line shows our screening level, and you can see that everything we've been monitoring is largely below that. Again, comparing screening levels in a different type of chart form. Again, I'll just keep reiterating. Don't expect you to get all this, but just know that all these data are up there and all this information's up there in very different ways for you to look at. If words work better for you in big charts, 348 samples tested for asbestos, 0 came back positive. And that was for Lahaina to date. We have ash data. We show where the ash data was collected. And we tell you what the results were. People ask, why are you sampling for what? Well, you see that only the heavy metals, the metals at the top came up high, and 2 other things that people talk about a lot, dioxins and PCBs were very low. So we don't continue to test for those because if they're not in the ash, they're not going to be anywhere else in the environment, at least as a result of the fire. Could be from other sources potentially, but not as a result of the fire. Coastal sediment. This is people who start worrying about what's in the water. Well, the sediment that drops out of the water. So we collect it in 10 different locations. From Olowalu on up to Kahikili. Again, charts focusing on metals because again, that's what we found were the biggest things in the ash, the most common in the ash. Again, in words, and then in charts. Here's the beach sand. We only did 3 beaches, partly because we really didn't expect to find anything. And we thought if we did these first 3 beaches, we'd be able to see if there was a need to continue to sample. So we looked at Baby Beach, what was it? I forget the second one, Hanaka'o Park, and then Kahikili Beach to the north as kind of a control if it's not, that was out of the fire zone. Again, the data for that. Water sampling people, how did we were able to issue the press release saying that ocean waters was safe for recreation? It's from all these very data sources. And this is a good example to show the partnership of where we're getting data from. This data is on this page is not just the Department of Health data, it's Surfrider data, it's University of Hawaii data, and Huioka by Ola data. Again, just more charts. I don't expect you to read, and we only have a limited amount of time for lots of people to speak about important things for tonight. Again, I mentioned another area of cooperation. We're getting TDS data, so you can look at it here. We know it's on Maui Recovers as well, but we want to just have as much as we can in one location for all the community members. And shows what they're all sampling for, and would they share their monitoring data with us as well. This is, I mentioned, we had advisory pages. Right now, the only advisory we have is the drinking water, and that's moving along quickly to not be. And then there's resources that you saw on our previous DOH page about Maui wildfires, you know, what to look for in air quality, how to read, you know, I'm sure most of the people coming to this have seen that airnow.gov to look at air data. This explains how to understand that and what to do if there's changes in those air quality and other resources. Again, always adding to this, it's going to be dynamic. We talk about an important thing here about having good quality data, and I apologize, this is missing the header, but we do talk about what data we put up, how we explain it, whether it's useful for decision making, whether it's useful for screening only, but always putting in most any data we have, we can find up. And again, as I mentioned, you can download it. This is, the first couple pages is going to be all the weekly air monitoring reports since the wildfires began and the debris removal operations. We've been monitoring air quality, and we put these up as quickly as we can. Of course, there's a little bit of a lag time because you take the samples, they go to the lab, you got to review the report and put it up, but they all go up here. And you see all the different categories of data we have up there and from different sources. And that's what I have for you tonight. Again, I know it was really quick, but hopefully you'll go to the web page, you'll take a look at it. It's pretty intuitive to play around and find the various data sets, and also just give me a call or drop me an email and I'd be happy to help you look at that data or explain it further if it's not explained as well enough on the site. And this slide deck is also on MauiRecovers.org, correct, Mahia? Okay, mahalo, and please take a look.
All right, we're going to turn this over, and thank you. There's going to be a data test after. That was a lot, right? All hands and hearts, we welcome Annie and Lindsay. They're going to introduce themselves, talk to you a little bit about how to handle ineligible debris that needs to be cleared.
Hello, hi everybody. Thank you for having us. I'm Annie Alvelais. I'm the program director here on Maui.
And I'm Lindsay Dupal, the project manager.
So we, All Hands and Hearts, we're here to talk about ineligible debris removal, as we were so kindly introduced, and just a little bit about who we are. So All Hands and Hearts is a disaster relief organization that works alongside communities across the globe in their recovery efforts. So we are community-driven, volunteer-powered is kind of our motto. And really our role is to listen to the needs of communities and try and figure out how we can be a bridge of resources or just provide people power to fill gaps. We've been on island since August. So we first supported in virtual volunteer coordination, and then we were invited to come onto island last August. So like I mentioned, we're really here to be a way of filling gaps that exist and bringing people power. So here are a couple of the organizations we've worked with: Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, Huey Homes, Napili Noho. These are just some of them, but we've done everything from food distribution, war meal prep. We're currently doing some construction work as well. So we're just really, really, first and foremost, grateful to have been welcomed into your community, and are really grateful to just be a very small part of the process. We're very excited to announce that we are officially being able to offer a new scope, which is the removal of ineligible debris following the Army Corps of Engineers process. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Lindsay, who can tell you all a little bit more.
So some of you might be wondering what exactly is ineligible debris. The Army Corps did an incredible job of removing the debris, but just the debris that fell within what's called the ash footprint. So some of you might have other items left on your property that need removed. And we're offering a free service to the community to remove this debris to really alleviate that cost, effort, and emotional burden to allow you guys to focus on your recovery and rebuilding. So some questions that you might have is who's eligible for this service. Anyone who has gone through the Army Corps process and has that capital C complete, we will need to see the closing package from them before we can begin the application process with us. What sort of items might we be able to remove? While we won't do large structures or pools, we can do vegetation, trees, driveways, fences, rock walls. We're really willing to work with each property owner, understanding that your needs are personalized. We'll come do an assessment to make sure some things you might want to leave, some things might have sentimental value. So we want to make sure we're just removing what is necessary for you and really like meeting your unique needs. As Annie mentioned, we are a volunteer powered organization. So we work with a combination of staff and volunteers on site. And during the assessment, we might realize we need to bring in a contractor, a more specialized person to do some of these scopes, but we want to make sure that if we do decide to work on your property, we're removing everything to make you ready to start on that next phase of the removal. And then do you need to be on site while we're doing this? That assessment's a really important aspect for us, so we make sure we're doing the job that you want us to. That'll probably be the only time, either before the service and then at the end, that you'll need to be on the property with us while we're doing the work. We won't require that. And we will need some help to gain access into the property. So our team will help you put together the contractor access permits, but something that we'll need a little bit of help for on your end. So we are officially launching this today. We have the intake form to register interest live on the Maui County website. We're also going to be available, Annie, myself, and two of the other ladies here in purple. We're going to stay after the meeting. We can help you do the application if you need help. We have flyers with QR codes, so spread the word. It's also on the website, and tell anyone who is not able to be here. But the process is pretty simple. Once you get that closeout process, you're able to submit the request to us. It's a quick Google form. Our team will then be in touch with you to schedule the assessment, and depending on that, will tell you how long it might take to do that and where in our queue you'll fall. So we'll probably start assessments over the next few weeks, but if there's a large interest, we might not be able to work on your property for a month or two, depending. And then, like we said, we do the assessment, and then we'll need you to do the closeout with us just to make sure that everything is done to your satisfaction. Yeah, and just requesting the service, we already talked about it, but we'll be here afterwards if you want to scan the QR code, visit the website. And yeah, just really excited to be able to offer this service to the community.
All right. Oh, can you click it one more time? Sorry. All right. I'm going to turn this over to Chief Amos to take over, but I just wanted to say the reason why we're bringing this panel forward is it was requested that we assemble a group and talk about how are we handling forward-facing and forward-moving planning. And so we brought together a fabulous team. They're going to be able to share some information with you about their planning process and where we are going forward. And they'll all stay with us to take some questions along with our entire team. I did want to remind everyone before I turn this over that We'll be here afterwards as well to take questions, and then during the Q&A period. This is our final team that's going to be presenting tonight. So Amos, I'll let you come up and present. What is that one? Candy Bribe. Kaliko. All right. Thank you, Kaliko.
Aloha mai kako. Firstly, I'd like to thank you all for your patience. I know that the evacuation process, plans, routes, all of the above have caused angst to the Lahaina community. We wanted to ensure that we were prepared. We wanted to ensure that we brought the information, accurate information, good information, and good progress to all of you. And we're here. We do have progress. We do want to share some of our plans specific to Lahaina and then to the county of Maui. And so we're talking about evacuation management planning versus evacuation routes or evacuation plans. What that means is that evacuation is a dynamic thing. And as we go through our process today, our presentation, you're going to see that there's a lot of moving pieces. There isn't one route from any one house every single time for every single situation. And we're going to try and attempt to express that to you guys and then answer questions later on. So what drives the evacuation plan? 3 things drives the evacuation plan. And we kind of shared this a few weeks ago, an incident type, incident location, and the incident impact. That's what drives the evacuation. So once again, there is not one route, one way all the time. It's driven by these 3 things: incident type, incident location, and incident impact. So I want you guys to consider also that it's an all hazards approach. When we look at improvements in the roads and directions and signage and that sort of thing, it's related to an all hazards approach because every single one of these impacts or threats have a different process. If you guys can see, this is Lahaina town. The red and the yellow is the tsunami inundation zone, the yellow being the extreme, and then the fire, which typically comes from the south. If you guys look at that and you guys think about how would I get out in this particular situation, you guys are going to clearly see that the evacuation route is going to be different. Right? So once again, incident impact, incident type, incident location, incident impact. Regarding evacuation management, there is not one agency that does everything in evacuations. It's a combination of all the partners working together to not only build sufficient evacuation routes, but to also manage the response when evacuation takes place, and the operational coordination of that response effort during the evacuations. What we're going to do right now is we're going to kind of take you guys on a process. We're going to bring a few of the partners up kind of in order so you guys can kind of see what's happening and what may maybe support or hinder us in the evacuation process or other things that an evacuation includes. So we're going to choose the incident type being a fire because that's what's concerned for everybody. So right now we're going to bring up the fire chief and he's going to kind of tell you his role as the fire department arrives first on scene.
Mahalo, Amos. Aloha, kako. Good evening, everybody. My name is Brad Ventura, the fire chief from Maui County. What we're going to do tonight is kind of take you through a journey or an exercise of how we perform evacuation notification from dispatch all the way until you need to be leaving your house. And as Amos was saying, it's a collaborative event that all of us have to do together. Not one agency manages it from the beginning to the end. So I only have 2 slides, but I'm going to kind of expand on all these bullet points. So the way we get dispatches through the police department, and we've already discussed, we've chosen a wildfire today. So our resources are determined by our SOGs, our standard operating guidelines, and depending on how many calls, the type of incident, that's how dispatch determines how many resources to send to the fire. Once we're headed there or we receive the dispatch, we can know things like, what's the weather like? Was there multiple callers? Did they report smoke or did they report flames? All those sorts of things trigger us to do different things like upgrade the response. So that can happen immediately before we even get on scene. So then the crew gets in the truck, they start heading to the incident. While they're headed to the incident, a lot of stuff is happening. We review what we call a pre-plan. That's a pre-planned fire attack on a specific area with a wildland interface probably. What we're looking at is where's our water supply, where's our access. We discuss that as a crew in the vehicle as we respond to the call. And we're also looking to the area of the fire to see if we can report anything. You can see a large plume of smoke from miles and miles away. If we see things like that, then we again upgrade our response. Aircraft to be on standby, or we may even launch our aircraft immediately before we arrive on scene. Because it does take them, especially if you're on the west side. If we see a large plume of smoke, multiple callers, flames seen, high winds, a lot of times the Air One aircraft is being put on standby immediately. So we get on scene and we arrive. The next thing we do is we provide a report of what we see for all of the other responders that are coming. Remember, police is joining us. Our other companies from other districts are joining us. So we want to give them a size up of what we see. And what we do there and at that point is determine if we have enough resources coming or if we need to add more. We communicate that back through dispatch to add to the alarm if we need to, or just hold the resources that are coming in. Once we do that, we really do a real quick lap if we can around the fire, if it's small enough, or at least get 2 to 3 sides of the fire seen. What that does for us is that allows us to evaluate what we call the values at risk. These are homes, people, infrastructure, watersheds, airports, anything that the fire may impact. Then we deploy our incident action plan, and that's when we tell our crews to go to work. We do that based on what we have on scene now. We do that based on the direction of the fire. We do that based on the speed and spread of the fire. And we also do that with the consideration of who's coming to join us at the fire. Because if we have more resources coming, we might try to pinch off a flank and stop the head and then let the backfiring side of the fire burn for the second resources who are coming in. So there's a lot of considerations, and a lot of that happens within seconds of us arriving on scene, and a lot of that happens with fair to poor information because it's very smoky, there's a lot of wind, maybe there's traffic. So there's a lot of things going on, and a lot of decisions are making with fair to poor information. So once we deploy our incident action plan, we get our resources working. And I just want to kind of paint a picture for everybody. What I just described to you happens about 250 times a year in Maui County. So that's how many wildfires we go to every year on all 3 of our islands. There are a lot, and it peaks between May and September every year. But out of these 250, we only evacuate a small handful of times. And the reason for that is because we understand if we are trying to evacuate communities every time there's a small fire that may impact your community with just smoke, it's going to turn into kind of a cry wolf syndrome, and we don't want people getting complacent. If we reach the point where we're going to call for an evacuation, we really need people to get out. So there's a lot of preparation that goes into being ready to evacuate. That's a whole nother section. We can talk about that. Our Firewise program, our Ready, Set, Go guides, which we passed out, are online on our website. They're on Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization's website. They're available to you in many forms. They'll kind of talk to you about having a go bag, being prepared. It's very difficult to leave your house. We all know that. But when we ask you to leave, it's for your own safety. And we really care about you the most at that point in the incident. So how do we determine if we're going to evacuate? Because like I said, we do this 250 times a year, and we don't chase you out of your house every single time. So we look at the speed of the fire. We look at the topography of where the fire is. We look at how much wind we're dealing with. What is the relative humidity for the day? And we're doing this collaboratively, and we do this, like I said, MPD, if they're involved and they're with us, then we're commuting directly with them. And if we're going to call for evacuations, then they're able to take action immediately. If the incident is big and they're helping us with other things like traffic management and other things that we task them with once in a while, Then we'll communicate that through dispatch. So we'll tell dispatch we'd like to evacuate these 6 houses on this road. Dispatch will then send that message out, and then they'll go about their business. So that's one way things happen for evacuations. Now let's say it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and the EOC is not stood up because they get to go home at night, and there's just fire and police on scene. That's when we're going to communicate everything through dispatch. But if the EOC is stood up like it was in the past for many, weather incidents, what we'll do is when we communicate to dispatch that we're going to be asking for evacuations, in the EOC, we have a public safety group. And in that public safety group, they're monitoring the radio. It's made up of Coast Guard, fire, police, DOFA, all of our first responder resources are right there at the table at that radio. And if we communicate that we're going to do an evacuation and the EOC is activated, then that public safety group communicates that to MEMA's communication team, and then they take action on it. So I'm just going to kind of stay in my lane because that's what the fire resources do, and that's a lot of the information that we have to grasp from the field and make sure we make the best decision. And like I said, when we make an evacuation decision, it is dynamic. It is constantly changing. We may ask you to evacuate because it's imminent that it's going to impact a couple of your yards or homes. Well, we don't know exactly how quickly it's going to spread left or right. So we're going to take err on the side of caution and evacuate more of you than less of you. And then if it doesn't reach your home, then that's a win for all of us. So at this point, I'll turn it back over to my colleagues here, and they can kind of talk about their roles moving forward in evacuations. Chief?
Hello, guys. My name is Kyola Tom. I'm the Assistant Chief for the Uniform Services Bureau. So, like Chief Ventura said, if we get called out, fire usually tell us, hey, guys, we need you guys' help. Can you guys go shut down this road so that we can start working the fire on this? And if we do come to your house, it's, we need you guys to take it seriously. Please grab what you can and just please leave now. And if our guys are there, routes and evacuation directions kind of go hand in hand. Well, if there's a way out, we'll kind of tell you, hey, go ahead down the hill, head this way. We won't tell you guys specifically which roads to take. Like, you guys know where you guys live. Some of our officers are new. They might not know the same areas you guys know. So, they'll give you general directions which way to go. If there's something like gates, fences, and things like that, if our guys are there and that's the only way that we can go, then we'll take care of that. Yeah, county has no problem fixing a fence later on for you guys' safety, so don't worry about that types of situations. Like Chief Ventura said, everything gets funneled through the EOC. So our person in there, we'll tell them what's going on, we'll push the information out, and then the county PIO will start pushing the information out to you guys however way and every way possible. So they're pretty much the supporting role in all this. So we'll be here to answer any questions that you guys have later on.
Okay, so MEMA's role in the evacuation piece, primarily for the evacuation, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The top 5 points are means of communication. Our role is to listen to the chief and or the first arriving unit on scene, listening to his initial radio report, determining the need for evacuation as well. Once again, this is a collaborative thing that we're working together as we gather information and for situations that are fast moving. Once we gather that information, we have confidence in that information, we're going to start messaging. These are the ways that we message. MEMA alerts is one of them. If you guys haven't signed up for MEMA alerts, right in the corner there, we have handouts where you guys can sign up for MEMA alerts. That'll give you a notification via email or phone. The EAS or emergency alert system, that's gonna be a notification via radio and or your TV. AWEA wireless emergency alerts will come from your cell phone. It'll be accompanied with kind of an alert tone. You'll know exactly what it is when you hear it. Then you'll have a message on your phone, as well as broadcast radio. Broadcast radio kind of partners with EAS, and it also stands alone. We're gonna do better with broadcast radio and provide more information for the community in response. And then public sirens. Public sirens is owned, managed, and maintained by HIEMA. NEMA's role in that is to support HIEMA's efforts in the maintenance or the information related to the reliability or the sounding of the sirens. If at any time we need to notify, we're going to use any one of these or all in combination to let you guys know. When you hear the public siren system is to inform the public to seek more information. So if you hear the siren system, obviously there's no message. We want you to go turn on the radio, look at your phone, turn on the TV, because we're trying to communicate that something is imminent and we need to get you out of harm's way. Another aspect of or function of NEMA regarding to evacuation is we start looking for refuge areas, assembly areas, gathering areas, and our shelters. And we want to kind of send you in a direction to kind of hold fast and then support the stay there for you. What we're also looking for as we listen to the information coming from the incident, we're looking at local capacity, meaning are the resources on the ground, can the local resources handle it on the ground? And once those things start to get out of our control potentially, then we start looking for additional support to support the incident. This time I'd like to call up the director, Jordan Molina, for Public Works, and he'll kind of share a lot of the work specific to Lahaina and the evacuation planning.
All right. Hello, everybody. Aloha to the people online, too. My name is Jordan Molina. I'm your director with Department of Public Works. So Public Works, we build roads. That's what we do. And so on the screen here is the list of the preliminary evacuation connector roads that were identified with the help of fire department, who conducted surveys throughout Lahaina following the event to identify, choke points and areas of improvement. So these are the main connectors we identified, and so I'll be kind of walking through each of these, talking about kind of what it is and what the benefits they provide. Okay, so first one, Aki Street connector. So this is down in Kohua track number 3, between 1 and 3. There's 2 existing segments of Aki Street that are bisected by a private property. Long time ago, don't ask me why. So with these connections, what will benefit is we'll get a Mauka outlet for the lower neighborhood, and we'll also get a Makai outlet for the upper neighborhood. So the photos on the right are Google Maps from those conditions pre-fire. The next one we got is Kaakolu Street connector. This is coming out from the top right below the bypass. So the intention here is to provide an outlet from that neighborhood at the top, which is Kilauea Mauka 1 and 2. And the intention would be to look at making a connection directly onto the bypass, so the people at the top and above Kaakolu Loop and Kanakea Loop have a secondary outlet from their neighborhoods. Another in the same area is this Kanakea Loop connector. This would take Kanakea Loop from the top and provide a second egress into Lahaina Luna Road, just to provide that redundancy on access points. This one is a little bit challenging because of the facilities with the park and the water supply there. So, we're gonna have to be kind of planning through what the conflicts and how we can work through them. Next one is the Kahua Street connector. This is right above the Pioneer Mills site. This one will give us another outlet out to Keawe Street. So right now, those guys at the bottom in Kahua Camp Garu only come out through Lahaina Luna Road. So we're going to be looking at getting that connection in there to provide, again, that secondary outlet from the neighborhoods. The next one we looked at is this Dickinson Street connector. This would be taking Dickinson Street, Mauka of Honopilani Highway. This would be looking at developing a new road up through that area to provide additional access Mauka out of the neighborhood and from the highway up. What's also interesting about this proposal is it'll provide us a fire break as well as a potential firefighting access along Lahaina's urban wildland interface where we have our fires occur regularly. This one is down below the highway, this Kahili Place, Kaeo Place connection. This is to provide secondary outlets for the Oholo house lots down below there. One of the advantages here, we do have an existing 15-foot wide pedestrian right-of-way that gives us an opportunity to have that evacuation route develop sooner than later. And then the last set is our Wahikuli connectors. So looking at Malanai Street, Wahikuli Road, and Fleming Road with that connections up to the Kane Hall Road behind the subdivisions. Again, so just providing, typo over there. Providing additional outlets, Mauka, from the neighborhoods off those streets. And then this is also part of the master plan for the West Maui Greenway. So these connections would tie into that plan as well. Turn it back to Amos. Mahalo.
So firstly, I'd like to thank USACE. They afforded us the use of their LifeSim data. We kind of talked about that maybe a month or two ago. And basically what the LifeSim technology has allowed us to do is it allowed us to model the evacuation routes that kind of Jordan just went over and kind of give us the times and to help us with those decisions on what way to go versus just, an opinion. So this graph or this diagram kind of shows the top being the existing conditions and how long it took for 2,847 vehicles to get out of Lahaina in 60 minutes. And then with the proposed improvements, it is at 32 minutes. Basically is what this is saying as well. So the improvements are something we still have to go and look at and make some decisions upon. Obviously, there's a lot of things in consideration to whatever we choose. But the USACE LifeSim technology has helped us in that journey. We, the county, looking forward to all of the communities, identifying all of the evacuation management plans for all of the county with all of the roads and that we have, we are exploring and very close to procuring an additional technology. It's actually 3 technologies that work in one. And what it allows us to do, it does allow us to do the community modeling. It allows us to do the community modeling in a much quicker way. So, the expectation is to be able to model the entire every community in the county quickly. According to our initial investigation, it'll take, once you add the data in, it will generate it in minutes. So that allows us to look at multiple scenarios. That allows us to compare this road improvement versus that road improvement, and make some good choices. Once again, beyond just an opinion, because I know there's concern with eminent domain and taking away property, widening roads, so that sort of thing. We want to be able to support our decisions with science. The technology that we're exploring, it provides us that. The evacuation technology that we also are looking at provides a zoned evacuation. In the process, investigating what is the best way for us to improve the way we evacuate our communities in the county. I talked to many emergency management agency administrators across the country and specific to Northern California, because Northern California and Southern California hits this all the time. And one of the things that they gave me, every single one of them said, the one big choice that we made, the one big improvement was to zone evacuations. And so this technology allows us to zone our evacuation routes and then evacuation planning, which allows us to phase out versus everybody leave at the same time, which is what was the problem. Obviously, it's going to reduce panic. It's going to help operational coordination. This is a kind of an example of what the zones are, but the zones are actually much smaller. What we can do is, you can click on the zone and push the button, and it'll send out a notification to you that, zone 1, 2, and 3 is an imminent threat. You need to get out. Zone 4, 5, and 6, you guys are on standby. So this is kind of how the notifications will look. It is a public-facing page, so you can go look on your computer. If Lahaina is being evacuated, you can go look on your computer and see what the evacuation plan is looking like, what the messages are, so on and so forth. When you get the notification, it's going to go to your phone. It's going to tell you, what phase we're in and what happens next. So this technology that we're exploring, we're very close to procuring it and hopefully put it online as soon as we possibly can. There's going to be some planning processes as well. So, please give us some patience in how we do that as well. But that is the efforts that the county is putting together in regards to evacuations. Mahalo.
Thank you, Chief Amos. Before we go into our typical Q&A session, I have a few more things to tell you. Someone asked me to make this announcement because we're on social media, as well as all of you here, but with 4th of July next week, we ask that the community and the public be mindful of fireworks. It can be very difficult to live through with folks who are struggling with PTSD and just, it's a tough time. So you can keep that in mind for those who like to celebrate with fireworks. And again, illegal is illegal. I will just want to point that out to you. We also want to remind you that there is no community meeting next week as we announced. Please come to our open house. It's also a holiday on the next day if you have the 4th of July off. One thing I didn't show earlier, we couldn't get a screenshot up in time. We have, if you go to mauirecovers.org, on the front page, the home page, there's a button that's labeled community meetings. We talked about this a few weeks ago. So now when you go there, it's a work in progress, but when you go there, you see in one location, you can find a video of a community meeting, the handouts, the links, the information. So we'll do our best to populate that all together so that you don't have to search all over. It will also help with questions asked and question answered. So we'll keep working on that, but it is on that homepage for all of you. Tonight's slides included, if you were squinting and trying to take pictures and remember everything, you can go back to mauirecovers.org and get that slide deck available to you. Tonight, we have a number of folks here for our Q&A, not just those who came and presented tonight as we do every week, but we do have the Deputy Managing Director, who is also the Deputy Head of the Office of Recovery, Keanu Lauhi. We have Kate Blystone, the Director of Planning. And these folks, of course, work all day in their regular jobs, and then they join us this evening. So we really appreciate them. We have Carl Banks, Incident Commander of EPA. We have FEMA here as well. Allison? Is it Allison? She'll be here taking, he's gonna be gone for a little while, Curtis Brown, but you can look for Allison here. She's going to help us with some questions. And of course, Four Leaf and all of our presenters this evening, including those that came up earlier. So we're going to get ahead and take some questions. We have a microphone. Oh, okay, Kamalu and someone else. Who's the second one? Oh, Cynthia Lalo. Okay, so we have some questions. We're going to start there, and then we'll come here to Kimo, and then we have one way at the top there. Okay, go ahead, your question.
I have a question for Corps of Engineer.
Okay, General. Oh, I called you General.
That's okay. I like getting promoted.
I have 3 questions for you.
Ooh.
The gravel that is placed on my property at Nahale Place, there are still indentation on the property where they put the gravel, which is part of the house. Who is responsible to do the filling?
So the fill-in, so those are those places where we removed your foundation and your footings, and the deep depressions were where your footings would be, and we do not fill those back in with clean fill. We just put erosion control back down on top. More than likely, when you rebuild your home, your builder will come out and either reuse, move the gravel out of the way and reuse those if you put the same or a similar footprint down. If you redesign your floor plan and you need footers in different locations, then they're going to have to scrape that gravel, move the dirt, place it where they need it, and dig new footer holes. And then your builder should be able to move that around. But the Corps program, we removed 6 inches of soil and we moved the foundation and the footers.
Okay.
Yep.
Number 2. Who's also responsible for placing the topsoil on top of the gravel?
So we do not put topsoil on top of gravel. So this question has come up a couple times. Because of the climate here in Lahaina, the temperature and the winds, when we remove the 6 inches of topsoil, we place the gravel down for the sole purpose of erosion control. That keeps the wind off of the dirt. That keeps the water from eroding the dirt and putting it into the storm drains, which would flow back to the ocean. So that gravel is there until you rebuild. Once we put it down, it is the property of the landowners, but it is intended to keep the dust down and to keep the dirt on the lot.
Okay. The last question. The sign of the completion that's on the property right now. There was 6 homes at Nahale that was destroyed. So all of them were all completed with the gravel. And all of them have the completion of the on the sign for the cultural approval and for the county approval. But somehow, I don't know why my property was missed because cars was parking there, because we check our property every 3 days, and it still today has not been marked off.
And you have erosion control?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you should be close. We do it in phases to be as efficient as we can. So we have different crews who are specialized and have the right equipment set to do specific tasks. So the last thing we do after erosion control is we send a final inspector out to inspect the lot. In the event that maybe there was a tree that they couldn't get to during the active debris removal, we'll go back out and remove that tree if it was eligible. And then we turn the paperwork over to both FEMA and the county. We make that final signature, and then we sign off, and we're off the property. If you have a specific question about your property, you find one of these people right here in a red shirt, you give them your name, number, and address, and we will look it up for you and get you an answer within the next couple of days. But thank you for your questions.
Thank you, Colonel.
Mahalo.
We're going to go here to Kimo in the neon yellow. And then to the top there. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, my first question is, Kilauea Mauka. Evacuation route would be a nice thing to do on the Kanapali side of the end of the black wall, the concrete, the make-believe wall. They should make an evacuation road coming from Kilauea Mauka, knock portion of that stone wall or make a square hole like a concrete with a slab, or take it off and put lanes coming out of Kilauea Mauka in emergencies like a fire, tidal wave, or something. Because everybody got stuck in, well, not everybody, a lot of people got stuck in there and burned in their cars trying to get out of the way. And people was banging each other, and a lot of them died right in their cars, babies and all. So if you're gonna make evacuation route, I would rather have part of the wall knock off, because there's roads behind there used to be open before the highway. When they made the highway, they closed it off. So there was only one way out, is through Lahaina Luna Road, and the majority of the people is on the ocean side of Lahaina Luna Road entrance. And the houses above that, depending where the fire is, in this case, the fire was above the road. So a lot of the houses above the road entering the entrance to Kilauea Mauka from Lahaina Luna Road, a lot of the houses were saved because the fire was below that. But a lot of them was trying to get out, and the one-way road with, I don't know, at least better than 200 houses anyway trying to escape, and they got stuck in there and they burned alive. The next question is, we talked about the escape routes, all in the camps and like that. We live on Front Street. Where do we run? Depend where the fire is, right? Either Lahaina or Kanapali. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Jordan, do you want to respond to that suggestion?
Yeah, thank you. So Kilauea Mauka, what I mentioned earlier, we're looking at for that is Kaakolo Street that goes up behind the park, punching through the wall to the bypass to create a fire access lane so the guys at the top can get out. We also looked at the from Kanakea Loop coming down, just having another outlet onto Lahaina Luna Road just to provide some options. So that's the two for that upper area you mentioned. Front Street, I guess the benefit of Front Street, get a lot more roads in and out on Front Street than up in the neighborhood where you're stuck in the neighborhood unless you get Lahaina Luna. But down on Front Street, at least you get more connectors up into the highway. And really, to do anything more, we're talking about taking people's property and blowing open roads because there's no open space below the highway. Thank you.
Thank you. Jordan, we'll go there. And I saw a hand here. Okay. We got three right here. Where should Cynthia go? Okay.
Aloha. With all the agencies working together, fire, police, MEMA, I didn't see Hawaiian Electric on there. So who's in charge to call Hawaiian Electric to cut the power, whether it be by zone or the whole west side, or who's in charge of that?
I think Amos can help with the interagency coordination. Amos?
Aloha, thank you for the question. So we are in conversation with HECO regarding PSPS, power, public safety power shutoff. We are working on plans anytime a power shutoff will take place. HECO has a whole set of phases of their operation, and which they will join us in the EOC, and we'll be coordinating with HECO. Thank you. I'm Mima.
Okay, hang on. Let's finish up with her question. But did you have another?
Mima will contact, HECO will come into the EOC.
The Emergency Operating Center is a place of where different agencies report to. And I failed to say we just missed the state Joe Campos from the Department of Human Services, but I see Malia Davidson here who can also help with questions. All right, let's go to, I lost Cynthia right there. Okay, go ahead, sir, your question.
Hi, thanks everybody. I know months ago mentioned talks about land swap. So I live just above Kuhua Road, and those connectors gonna help Kuhua and Aki. But I know with the lifesaving programming and all that kind of stuff, is there specific to who's I guess going to be impacted as far as, you know, if properties are going to be taken or land swaps, and then that way we can move forward with permitting and all that. Is there a timeline, or do we know right now who might be impacted?
We'll have Jordan take a stab at it, and then we can go from there.
To my understanding, and I don't know everything, but at this point, there's nothing planned to take anybody's property at this point, except for that Aki Street one, and we are talking with the property owner already. Anything beyond that is going to be a work in progress to kind of figure out which, you know, where exactly we're going to be looking at to try and take property if we're going to try to do any kind of evacuation route. But, you know, in weighing the needs that came out of the event, the priority for us was getting housing and getting lots of back to people so they can repopulate and just get some stability in that regard. So that's been paramount for us, the top priority, to just get people back onto their property and provide that sense of stability there. Because like I said, once we start talking about taking property, things get a little messy. Because in here, you're going to say, sure, take his property. But when I come ask on your door, like, hey, you can give me your lands. Oh, different story. But yeah, maybe Mayor wants to add.
What I would say is, until we decide which of the routes we're going to go with, there are some in negotiation, Aki Street in particular, that landowner has come forward and is interested in the discussion. So that's something already in the works that affects that one landowner. Any other areas, and you folks have heard me talk about this at other meetings, if there's a decision to be made, that'll be made with that respective landowner. We're not trying to take anybody's property. But if we can convince them that this would be in their benefit too, to be open to an exchange, a swap, and frankly, since we're talking about this, some of the shoreline properties as well. I mean, I know that doesn't fall into the evacuation discussion, but it might fall into the discussion of people who are interested in rethinking whether they want to stay on their property for whatever the reason, whether it's to allow for us to increase the safety for evacuation, or whether it's for the benefit of the landowner as well as the county. We don't want anyone's sewer lines ending up in the ocean and you know, causing hazards into our ocean. So there are a lot of reasons why we would have these kinds of discussions. But again, it's not for the purpose of taking anything as much as it is deciding that there's a better way for us to do it. And if that has to happen, whether we have to buy somebody out, exchange something with someone of equal value, again, for the benefit of the whole community. These are hard discussions because, you know, it involves somebody who, every one of you have a love for your land, a love for your property, the family property, the history. And I think we understand all of that. But again, if we're going to ever have this discussion about improving the safety of Lahaina, now is the time to have that discussion. And then these are tough discussions, but we're open to all of that. Councilman?
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to share, I said last week, and it's, to my knowledge, still the same. I've been having discussions with Jen Maiden, the plan recovery support function. She was going to put together a meeting for the mill camp folks to talk things through. Mid-July was the plan, so be on the lookout for that.
Thank you, Mayor and Council Member. Question at the top, going to Cynthia. And just before you start, sir, there was a question online about the plans to redraw streets in the mill camp area. So I would say wait for that meeting when it happens on the bigger discussion of the neighborhood. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. This question is for Nancy, DOH. And lots of great information tonight. Appreciate it. So two questions. One, I'm up in the center.
Thank you.
The first question was the groundwater wells at the temporary sites. You know, if you could answer if they've been drilled, the monitoring wells for the groundwater, or when they might be drilled. I guess that could be an Army Corps question.
Yeah, it's actually more of an Army Corps, but I do know they have been drilled, but they haven't actually been sampled yet. Is that correct? Okay.
Okay, second question was just all the data you showed. Can you give just a general overview of the soil, the beach samples, the ocean water? Was there anything that spiked above threshold that would be of concern?
Nothing spiked above human health threshold for any of those media. Mostly for soil, water, beaches, they're all at what we call background levels. If people aren't aware, we have very relatively high levels of metals in our soils here because of volcanic origin of our islands. But right now, those media is all about background.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kamalu?
Hi, I'm a caseworker, and I do have a question for FEMA. So, as a caseworker, we are introduced to a lot of families who have been affected by the fire. I'm here on behalf of those clients, and one of the restrictions that, or challenges that my clients face is being a group of individuals who are not eligible under FEMA's requirements for housing. And these are individuals who unfortunately have made a misstep in their past life, been arrested either by the police department way before, or even during or a little bit after the fires. But due to FEMA's restrictions, they're not able to find housing. And that's, as my job, it's been really difficult to help them. And because of that, they go back to a life of crime. They go back to being in Lahaina, stealing cars, doing what they need to do to make ends meet. What is the state and FEMA doing to help those individuals and families that are not eligible under FEMA's requirements?
Thank you for your question. I would say also thank you for the work that you're doing for the survivors that are not being supported currently. I would say all of these survivors on a case-by-case basis, the first thing I would consider them doing is looking at other nonprofit support. This is a whole community effort, right? So not only is FEMA, the state and the county here, but we have, as an organization, Community Resource Center open. It is at Royal Lahaina Resort and Bungalows. However, it will be closing on Saturday, June 29th at 2 p.m. That said, there's going to be another County of Maui Office of Recovery is opening a new disaster center that's going to be located at the Lahaina Gateway. And that's going to be open starting, well, a soft open starting July 3rd. However, those are where they could go and get other resources to support their recovery, acknowledging that maybe they do not receive assistance from FEMA.
Okay, perfect. And one other question I had was
I'm going to help answer that too. I hope nobody is resorting to crime because they're not getting help from FEMA. And that's not a good reason. There are alternative sources, the state, the Department of Human Services, CNHA. There are many organizations that have reached out to help all the ineligible FEMA folks right now. So I don't think anybody has to resort and say, well, because FEMA's not giving me money, I got to go steal my neighbor's car or take my neighbor's food. I mean, I just don't know how we can justify that and feel like that's okay because we're in a disaster and a tragedy. There is so much services that have been provided to our community. I mean, you just heard for the first time about the ineligible debris cleanup. Nobody even knew about that. So there's so many people that want to help, and they want to help the people who cannot find help. So please, don't, it's not right that your clients think that, oh, well, I tried FEMA one time, they denied me, so I got to go do this or that. And I know a little bit about people who face challenges with crime in our community. And I just want to say there's so many other alternatives. Curtis, I know you want to jump in. Yeah. Now, plenty of guys will like talk about this subject. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to be clear that just because you have a checkered background doesn't make you ineligible for FEMA benefits. And so I think I want to make that clear first, because we have over 50 households in our program, directly or in our program, that property owners in Maui won't accept them into their units until FEMA is going to house those individuals or those households. I just want to be clear, we don't discriminate because of your background.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to answer this too. So on behalf of the Department of Human Services, we would 211, remember? 211. So we would like you to call 211 on their behalf, but make sure that we have names and we have how to get hold of them. So, and you can help them through that process, but we need to have them on the list in order to support them in the way that they need to. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Oh, and one more. Oh, good question. Okay, go ahead, Councilmember.
The Pili Noho is still open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 10 to 15. Need food and those kind of supplies as well. And CNHA, Kako, Maui, Noho at Napili Park.
Thank you, Councilmember. Okay, we're going to grab some questions on the top and down here, and I want to correct some, maybe I want to clarify some information that was given. So when the county opens next week, its Office of Recovery location, it is not the replacement for the Disaster Resource Center, the DRC. We will host some resources there, but it is not a complete one-for-one. So you come, you visit the County Office of Recovery, you get your permitting, you get resources. There will be services that were once housed at the DRC that will be available. Go ahead to the, yeah, we have two at the top, one right here in front of me. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. For Jordan Molina, I don't think I heard anything about evacuation routes for the Kainui Baker Street area. It's a pretty high density residential area. Question mark?
Yeah, we have not flagged anything there because most of those properties have multiple options to either go up to the highway, out through Front Street. So they're not boxed in like some of the other neighborhoods we mentioned earlier.
I appreciate that, but just reminding us all that the highway wasn't accessible in this instance. And so it leads to my next question, which is underground utilities in these evacuation routes. I've heard it's going to be expensive. Are we going to be able to get that?
Yeah, we are working with, and HECO's working on this as well to figure out what funding we can get to help facilitate that. Because to your point, it wasn't just the lack of access, it was the obstructions we had to deal with, power poles, trees, etc. Right? So that is part of the planning process to see how we can either harden those facilities at those critical intersections or underground them as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I know I saw a hand at the top there. I lost track. Which one of you were raising? Oh, Jeremy? No, I know I saw there. Okay, we're going to go here in the blue and then up to Jeremy. Go ahead.
Hi, this message or question is for the mayor. You had mentioned a bill or something at the beginning of your talk, and I was just wondering if there's a number that, or where we could read about it.
2919. Bill 2919 was the bill that the legislature passed that allows the county to regulate its zoning or its, in particular, the TVRs.
All right, we're going to go to the top there. Again, I
Oh,
remind
I'm
you to
sorry, it was
raise,
Senate bill. Yeah, not just Bill 20, Senate Bill
I
2019.
remind you to raise your hand so that we can call on you when you're ready. Go ahead, Cynthia at the top, Jeremy.
So 2 questions for you guys. Going along with the lady's question. We can have all the evacuation routes, but 2 concerns that I have is density. So if people can afford to build back, we're probably gonna build back bigger to house more family and more friends. So now we're turning our neighborhoods into congestion zones. So even if we have evacuation routes, they might be too congested to get through. So you're talking about Waikuli, where my house there. We get Fleming Road, Waikuli Road. Kapuna Kea might be involved in the future. What does that do for density for emergency services to get through? Number two, the second part of that whole question was, like the lady said, we can have evacuation routes, but we need HICO or MICO at this meeting to discuss the telephone pole issues, the power lines, because that's what will stop everybody from getting out. And until we can get HICO or MICO at this meeting and to talk about it, we headed to the same disaster, gang. So my house, I can get my permit, I can do all my stuff. I gotta pay for my own survey, wink, wink. But with all that said, I still don't have power in my neighborhood. And if Miko gonna drag their feet or whoever's, we cannot put the power lines in the ground. We headed for the same disaster, gang. My second question is the security checkpoints. And, I've been having discussions with some of the mayor's team. What I was told, not by anybody particular in the mayor's team, was that we want to have the perception of opening up. And I know we're pushing to open the main road in August. Why are we opening up? We get tourists gonna go in there. And I know we like rebuild, and I'm all for the rebuild, but the tourists have no business going in town. The locals that just like being in the area, and the locals that are actually taking tourists into town for a nominal fee, that not can happen. So I would strongly suggest, can we keep the checkpoints until we have a better mitigated plan to keep these LA people, the tourists, because every day when I at work, I encounter 7 to 15 tourists trying to get through every day on Front Street by Punoa area. So that's my 2 questions. Mahalo.
Thank you, Jeremy. We're going to take that point back to our team. I know last week, was it last week? Yeah, when we had the state DOT here, we had some discussions about access and all that. So thank you. We will return with that response on the status. Okay, we have a question here, followed by
Wait, hang
Kavika.
on.
I can add one more. So I know you guys in talk story, but we need to really discuss, and I know Ed sniffing stance and screw him, but we need to create that northern terminus. We got to add at least one road, that bypass road that goes to Pukali or something. We have to add that because we headed for the same situation again. Honopi Ilani Highway was closed, all the power lines went down all the way to the Civic Center. So even if we say the north end of Front Street, you can get out there, the telephone poles, the power lines are still in the roadway. So we still need a secondary roadway. So we really need to push the bypass.
Okay, I'll try to answer your first 6 questions, Jeremy, and then I get to the second 6 after that. Yeah. Hey, nice to see you, Jeremy. Thank you for staying involved and concerned about your community. Everything you said is correct. As far as the density, Lahaina was already people living on top of each other. Part of that is going to be, and I'm going to have to say it since it came up, permitting, right? Zoning. People who want to build back are going to have to build back according to code. There are going to be all kinds of things that we have to talk about. I mean, people just can't throw something up. As tempting as that is, I think we're going to have to ask people to obviously follow the code that's out there. Now, there are ways we can deal with when you talk about oh, there's going to be so much congestion, that's still not a reason to not have an evacuation plan and not to have evacuation routes put in, because that'll all add to safety, especially if it's more dense, especially so. We're hoping we can control that through a couple ways. Everybody here heard what you had to say. We're gonna, obviously talk to the people that are the boots on the ground, the people that are helping with all that. I wanted to say something about the sentry or the posts that we have, the checkpoints. I noticed we were through there for a few hours today in the area. We made several stops along with some media folks that were with us. And I saw a lot more patrols, maybe 4 to 6 cars patrolling. Now, I don't know if they're patrolling the right areas or not, but of course they're out there. So we kind of shifted, am I right, Chief? We've kind of shifted from just people sitting at a checkpoint, checking who's coming in, to having vehicles. I think you guys have seen them, either those black Jeeps or those black, I don't know, they are Chargers or whatever kind of vehicles they are. We see them going through the neighborhood. So they're trying to be more, on the scene and not just at a stationary point. But as far as opening up the road, we're not opening up the road for the tourists. We're opening up the road for the cars that are clogging Keawe Street, clogging the bypass. And all you're going to be able to do is through traffic. If it does open, it's just allowing you to go from that intersection through Honopi'ilani to come back out on the roads. You can end up catching up with the traffic on either end of the road, but trying to allow for that. I think, and we're hoping what's going to happen with traffic is we got maybe another 100 residential lots to clear, and maybe 50% more of those folks that are, the business lots. And then we can get the large trucks off the road, the big trucks that are coming in, until we move the temporary debris to the permanent site. That's going to be another situation, but that'll be outside of town, more the Oluwalu side before they go up country. But what we're trying to do, and I think we're listening to the community, and everybody has input and everybody is impacted differently, but we're just trying to open up Honopi'ilani, not so that more tourists can come through, because they cannot go up to the arteries. They're only going to be allowed to go through. So we're going to shift what we're doing. But the plan was to make it less traffic for you guys' whole community. Obviously, we don't want tourists in there either. And we'll try to enforce that as much as we can with police MEMA. So.
Ma'am,
Yeah,
hang on.
No, that means you cannot turn off. You can only go straight through Honopi'ilani. That's what we're going to allow. But we're going to let people on the mics so that we can pick this up for everybody else. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Go ahead, sir. Thank you
Yeah.
for your patience.
My question is for Jordan. Because we're undergoing a rebuild of Lahaina, there's issues with 2 big projects that were scheduled for Lahaina: the watershed, the Lahaina watershed, and the Lahaina Master Drain Plan. And those have been on the table for a long time. And so wondered what the status was for them.
Yeah, thank you. So the Lahaina Watershed Project, for you folks that don't know what that is, that's a proposed flood mitigation project, basically starting from Lahaina Luna Road approximately and running south along all the open fields, connecting down above Puamana. So right now there's that big open channel above Puamana. That's the outlet. So that project is still in progress. The current status is, well, unfortunately things got derailed because of the fire a little bit, but they're redoing the, basically the hydraulic and hydrology studies to revalidate the project. So that's still in progress, and we still have funding to move forward with that one. The other project, the Lahaina Town Drainage Master Plan, unfortunately, generally, Janner's master plans don't get a lot of funding support, and they're hard to implement. So that's why we never moved on Lahaina. What we have going on right now with the help of EPA is they're helping us do an update to that plan, and as well as develop some green infrastructure and low impact development strategies to incorporate into that plan. And so that work is about to get underway, so we can have kind of a fresh plan to start working off of, and see which of these projects we can try and move forward with. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Kavika? And then I see Kaliko's hand raised in the front. Kabika? Oh, Kiko. I just renamed everybody today. I made him general, and then I called you a whole different name. Go ahead, Kiko.
Before I ask my question, there's just a statement that I got from other people is when you opened Lahaina Luna on the 1st, there was a lot of people who lost family members on Lahaina Luna Road, and they're asking maybe you might think about after the 8th, or at least on the 8th, close it down so that they can have peace on the road instead of having traffic on that road on that day for the year, 1 year, at least give them 1 year before you open that road. And that's just a statement that I heard from a couple people who lost on that street.
Thank you.
Lahaina Luna Road, yeah. Lahaina Luna Road, just because of the impact on the lower part of Lahaina Luna Road. My question is, last week I asked if the county had any plans to, because of all the open properties that we got back, doing a mass survey, and if the county was interested in helping us and taking that cost away. That wasn't discussed. They heard that before, but that wasn't discussed. So since last week Wednesday, I have spoken with a guy from Oahu who already did aerial surveys of everybody's property of Lahaina, and he has that information. I didn't vet it. I'm sending what his paperwork is after the final project to my architect to see if that would work so I'm not saying that this is 100% or whatever. This is just through the week that I had. And then also with a nonprofit, Holomua, they talked to somebody in the governor's office, and they said that if the county was interested and they showed enough interest, there is funding from the federal government for something like that to happen. And like I said, this is me talking hearsay. It's not 100%. I don't know. I didn't vet. I don't even know who the guy was, who they talked to the governor's office. I'm just saying that's what I heard. And this is just the week that I've been asking this question. So if we could get, that's like $2,000 for the surveys for the whole. I don't know why we'd go over with each other and have to do that on our own when we can do it at one time crack. That's all.
Okay, surveying. We cannot do a mass contract. Each property has its own survey need, and that needs to be an agreement between the owner and the surveyor, because that is a legal process to set those boundary pins and potentially changing your boundary in your lands. So it is not advised for the county to get involved with that. Additionally, there's different types of survey. So like Jeremy up there said, he needs one topo. That's basically because his design professional, his architect is telling him, I need that information to do your design. So it's gonna vary based on what your needs are for that survey, which is really gonna be driven in your guys' case by what your design professional is saying he needs to draw up your construction plans for your project. Now there's efforts underway to help reimburse or pay that cost for you to help offset that burden. But that is not something that the county can get in between you and your surveyor, because that has legal ramifications if the thing is not done according to what you need and how you communicate with your surveyor. I can say that I've been talking to the surveyors on Maui. They have not been getting the calls. So they're available and waiting for your guys' need. And then again, the timing is gonna depend on when you're ready for your survey, right? Like the permit number is showing, not guys coming in yet. So the demand for that survey is not hitting yet. So that's the answer to the survey question, is we're gonna try to help you guys with the cost, but that's something you gotta work through with your team on your rebuilds.
Because we need the survey for the architect to, especially if we're not building to the exact footprint of our house.
The architect can tell you.
The architect
what he
needs the survey, exactly. So that's why I'm saying if we can get somebody who does it, or at least financial help, because most of us is underinsured. We got to try to build back what we had, and we don't have enough money. So $2,000, that's knobs for my drawers and maybe one ice box or something. But anything can help, right? So
yeah. So unfortunately, survey is one of the things we cannot do for you, but we can help pay for that.
Okay, that's the part, help pay. Yeah, because we can all contact that guy who has it already and then see if that works for your.
It's not gonna work for the
Okay.
legal. For the
No,
legal
I just saying for
standing it
us,
needs.
if it works for his company works and he has it already, I don't need to contact somebody for on my property.
No, but I can tell you, it's not gonna be valid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's not legal It's not legally binding, that data that they got.
Kiko, are you talking about the company that did the drone flyovers? Yeah, they were trying to get us to buy that from them, buy all the information that came. And we were trying to vet whether that information could be used the way I know you're saying, because it was very precise. They gave a presentation to the county. We saw the whole thing. Somehow they were allowed to come in early on through some way, somehow, and they were able to capture all of these things in advance. And then their goal was to sell it to the county. But it wasn't designed for the purpose of surveying people's properties. I mean, it's an aerial photograph, and they can tell you, pinpoint this, pinpoint that, and pinpoint this. But we don't know if that's going to be enough for your art. Well, it might be enough for your architect, but I don't know if it'll be enough for your for it to be a legal document that you can rely on. I'm going to tell you what some right now, because some of that is going to be impacted when you guys do surveys. And I won't say which neighborhoods, but there have been some neighborhoods when you look at the. I'll give you an example. If a road was built 20 foot wide on a street, and it is 20 foot, and all of a sudden, at one point, the road is 15 feet wide, and then the road becomes 13 feet wide, what must have happened to that road? Somebody built one stone wall on this side of their line instead of this side of their line. So now the road go from 20 feet small and small, and we've seen that happen. Now, the good news is a surveyor can tell you, this is your line right here, not on this side. And a lot of neighborhoods, it sort of kind of happened that way. When you build your stone wall, you build your stone wall, and then that's what happens. And so I think surveys are going to clear that up for a lot of people, and some in good ways, and some will maybe be disappointed. So the aerial photograph cannot tell you that. The pins, it'll just tell you, come back to the way it was. But I think it's going to explain why some of the neighborhoods turned into the way they did. I'm not blaming anybody. It just happened that way over time. Mali, get back to you, Jeremy.
Thank you for that question, because I know it's going to keep coming up. On the cost that's going to be incurred by all of you, if you are in the disaster case management program, the disaster case manager will identify a source for you. If they can't identify within our resources, it will go to the long-term recovery group. And the long-term recovery group has a funders table, and it will be addressed then. So that would be another way to have those costs covered. Okay.
Okay, and that's 211.
Yeah, you need to be on our list. 211.
Okay, I'm going to read an online question. I see Jeremy raising his hand again. You still have a question, Jeremy? Okay, and then up at the top with a white polo shirt as well. But a couple of online, this one looks like it's for Planning Director Kate. When will the SMA, the new SMA paperwork is called, be signed so that permits can be issued?
So we have existing SMA rules. Hi, on the internet. This came from the internet, correct? Okay, so we have existing SMA rules. So if you are ready to apply, you can apply now and you can go through the process we have in place. Right now, the rules are at Corporation Counsel. So our lawyers are taking a look at the rules, and they're going to, as soon as they're done, I'm going to call this guy over here and say we're ready for signature. So hopefully by mid-July we'll have those, and then they'll take effect 30 days later. So, but that said, like if you have questions about your property, and if your property is in the special management area, hold on, I'm pulling up my phone number. You can call the planning department. You can call the current planning division. I gave this number out last week, but it's 270-8205. And someone from our team will be able to answer some basic questions about your SMA property.
Yeah, just let me also clarify, those SMA rules are not on my desk. They are not sitting on my desk. They have never been on my desk. They're not in my in-tray. They have not gotten to me yet. They are still with it was with the department and or with Corporation Counsel. So when they send it to me, I will sign them. I don't have them. So for those who keep asking, how come the mayor hasn't signed them? It's because I don't have them. But I will sign them when I get them. Jeremy, I think we're cutting to you.
So this is on follow-up. I don't know if it's for Kate, Jordan, or for Leaf. There's some miscommunication, I guess, about is a survey plan actually needed to submit your permit? Like my architect that's doing it said that they could go off of what is online on the county website. They could do their best and manage that. Do we actually need that topo survey for our permits to be submitted to Fall Leaf?
Okay, so topo is different because that's your elevations. And so if you're building on one terrace and he's got to know how much slope and how much cut to fit you in, that's what he needs to get your plans approved. That's not what we're requiring. If you need boundary survey because you like max out your lot and make sure you're not in the setback, that's on boundary survey, which he also gonna need for he can make sure you put your house in the right place. If he can make that work without needing a new survey, we are not holding that as a hard requirement right now.
Okay, so the answer is no.
The answer is
from the county.
From
Okay.
the county. It's the answer is up to your design professional.
Okay. So Fall Leaf is not going to require. I know I need for my property. I need the survey pins. The topo, as long as my architect can draw it out to whatever the county has on their website, is that good enough for Fall Leaf? Yes or no?
When we see your plans and if it's good enough, we're probably gonna say it's good. It's gonna be your architect that's stamping those plans that's saying this is enough
Well, but
to meet
Fall
the
Leaf
code.
is giving us the permit, so I just like make sure I like hear from Fall Leaf that if we just have a aerial view or whatever from the county's website, that Fall Leaf will accept that layout for approve our permit.
Yeah, so like Jordan said, your architect or engineer, it's going to be up to them what they will accept to feel comfortable that they're meeting the zoning requirements. Does that make sense? I'm not trying to talk you in a circle. Yeah, if your architect's good with it and you're within the setbacks and you're meeting your height limitations, we're going to accept that. I work for Jordan, so what he says goes.
Okay. I'll take it at face value. Second, just so information, before I dig on a hole in my ground, before I get to the property, I know I sent this message out to the mayor's team. Homeowners gonna be anywhere in the hole from $10,000 to $25,000 before they even do anything. And that's permit fees. Before all hands, hot guys, whatever in the purple, they're gonna move your gravel for free. Before them saying that, you had to hire an excavation company to move and haul. Your architect plans, all of that stuff is the cost. So I think going along with Hikoa, that's kind of a big concern is the initial upfront cost for the uninsured and the underinsured. And like somebody was texting me earlier, we all underinsured, except for the STR owners. They get plenty insurance, those buggers. So just so you guys know, we're already in the hole. So I'm trying to mitigate all these costs. So if we don't need to hire a surveyor to do this, and Four Leaf and Jordan says, yeah, as long as your architect says good, we good, then I can pass that information along. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Go ahead.
I was just going to say a survey. I know all costs add up. I get it 100%. I've been doing this a long time, but a survey will also protect you from future litigation.
Okay, thank you. We have an online question about asbestos. I'm not sure if that's Army Corps. It says, looking for information on properties with asbestos, a timeline for cleanup. Is there one?
Thank you for that question. Is there a timeline for asbestos? There is a list of homes that we've identified that have asbestos on them and they need asbestos abatement. We are currently working on the properties that are on that runway. I'd have to know the address to know where they fall on the runway. Asbestos abatement is a bit of a unique challenge. It requires a mitigation team and some specialized skills. And so every property is unique, and I can't say that, because your property is a quarter of an acre, it's going to take X amount of time. It depends on how much asbestos, where it's located, what it's attached to. But we are working through them not as we speak, but we were working through them earlier today, and we'll be back out tomorrow working on that list to get those properties done as quickly and safely as we can. Once they finish the abatement, they then enter a sort of a standard debris removal runway, and we're working through properties quickly. As I said earlier, we have less than about 115 properties left in residential program until we are all properties have at least little C.
Thank you, Colonel. We are going to wind down. We have 3 hands up that have been waiting patiently. Kaliko, followed by where Cynthia is, and this gentleman who's been super patient waiting on the very end. After that, we're going to wrap, and our team will be here afterwards.
I just wanted to see if there was an update on the pool.
The Parks Department has been asked to come. They'll be giving an update. We do not have an update on the swimming pool tonight. Thank you, Kaliko. Cynthia to the top, and then this gentleman way down here, Kamalu, he's been waiting very patiently. Go ahead.
Aloha, everyone. I have a question. I think it would be for DOH regarding 211 services. Could you please expand a little bit about who should be calling 211 and why that would be beneficial to them? And then specifically, because I'm working as a mental health specialist, if you are doing anything to educate the local mental health providers about how to refer clients and what services are available. As of right now, people like myself, I'm doing all of that type of management on my own and I've done it without pay, for 9 months, which I don't mind doing. But it sounds like it's being said that there are services available, like that people don't need to resort to crime, and they don't need to be feeling hopeless when their family members are committing suicide. And they are, there's all these things available. There is some kind of gap between the community engaging in it and it being successful. We understand that it's available, but there is a gap between that it's out there and that people know about it and that they're utilizing it.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for your service. People like you are helping to fill in those gaps, and we understand that. The Department of Human Services is being funded by FEMA. It's being supported and funded by the American Red Cross, and we have many, many partners. This organization has been, or this program has been brought up in the last several months. And we have 31 case managers right now. And we have outreach navigators. So the way it works is people call 211, and then they're screened to make sure that they are part of this, they are in the need. So if you worked in the area and lost your job, or if you are a survivor, lost your home or rented in the area, then you will be placed into this program. All of those things need to be verified. After that, if there is no disaster case manager available for you, because every one of our case managers can only take 35 cases, and we know the need is huge. We send them to an outreach navigator who is actually trained similarly to a disaster case manager. The disaster case manager is like the quarterback that stays with our survivors until the unmet needs are stood up, until there's no more need. And so this program is going to be around for hopefully many, many years. as we've seen across the country with all kinds of disasters. So we're at the very start of this, and these are good questions, because anyone who has anything from building your home to mental health challenges, to healthcare, to childcare, mental health, this is important. This is a state program that is funded by multiple agencies. And so for mental health in particular, to answer your second question, we have a consortium of mental health providers that I can talk to you afterwards, because I would like to get your number, so you can be part of that group if you haven't been already exposed to that group. And we meet every week, and we have people on the ground like yourself that are reporting to the Department of Resiliency, which is under the governor's office. And we are constantly maneuvering and making the programs better. Does that answer your question? Yes. Okay. Oh, okay. You want me to just, okay. Okay, I think if I heard it correctly, what is the benefits? What's the benefits is they're calling and then they're placed on a wait list. I'm assuming, I hate to say that word, but what happens in between? And that's why we need actually more help at this time. And all of our nonprofits that are helping us, all the orgs like FEMA and like American Red Cross, like CNHA, like United Way, everybody's united at this point, trying to make sure that every need that we can fill in is being filled. You're asking about the long-term recovery group. We have, under the disaster case management program, we have providers that can help who come from their own nonprofits and other organizations who are plugging into us. That's who we are sending our people to, yeah? And then if we cannot fill that, then it goes to the long-term recovery group. And this is separate from us, but they are in partnership. So this is something that we have been working with, and we have Rhonda here, who is part of the long-term recovery group. She's the vice chair that can probably talk more about it. But in this standing up this organization that is community-based, they have a funders team, and that's getting up, yeah, Rhonda, that's coming up to the table very quickly as fast as they can.
Thank you.
So we have a little
We're
bit
going to
of-
wrap. We're
yeah,
approaching
thank
8
you.
o'clock, so I want to respect the gentleman here who's been waiting a very long time. We're going to follow it by Mikey and the other gentleman. Sir, we're going to take any other questions on this one fellow too. He's been waiting forever. And then our team will do their best. So if you could ask your one question.
Mine's just an announcement. Wahikuli cesspools, if you are interested in rights of entry, we have some over here at the black table. Come see us when we're done.
Thank you, Jake. They're like incognito. Sir, oh, Mikey, and then this gentleman here, and then we are going to close with you in the yellow. We answered your question. Okay, Mikey.
This question is for Mima, and it's about the zoned evacuation. Will you guys take all the data that you have from the history of what happened on August 8th, plug that into zoned evacuation, and see how successful that would have been on August 8th? My concern, the reason I ask is from seeing the smoke to getting into the car, I had less than 10 minutes. So I'm trying to figure out in my head, conceptually I understand how it could work, but I'm trying to think in my head how on that day a zoned evacuation would have worked with how quickly everything was moving.
So the short answer to your question is, are we going to look at all of the data sets related to improving evacuation routes to consider all of the barriers or obstacles that on that day? The answer, yeah. Yeah. The answer to that question is yes.
Okay, I love that. Thank you, Amos. Sir, you are our last open Q&A
Hi,
question.
Yeah, I don't know if everyone's seen the ad that's been on TV recently about the short-term rentals and how much money they bring into our county. What I don't understand is the condo that I live in, I've been there since 1989 as an owner, and it's deemed apartment workforce housing. It's in Hanakawai, and we have over 100 condos there, and 9 condos are occupied by owners. All the rest of them are short-term rentals. And they are saying how much money is brought into our county by these short-term condo owners who all live in the mainland. So I don't understand, where does that money go? Is that do they give that money to Maui, or the money that they get from their short-term condos goes to them in the mainland, and that where they pay their taxes? It just doesn't make sense to me. And this ad is like I've heard it several times over the last few days, and it just doesn't make sense to me at all. And I was in a HOA meeting the other day, and all these owners, I didn't recognize one of them, all had the deer in the headlights look about their short-term investments. It's an investment. Sometimes investments don't pan out, but I don't see the money going to Maui. I see the money going to them in the mainland. That's my question.
Okay, that's a great statement.
Okay, we'll finish it with this.
Mayor?
I think some of the money stays on Maui, some of the money that is paid through their taxes. But anything that's a profit obviously goes to them, and they can spend it where they want. It doesn't have to be spent on Maui. We're not here to make this an us and them, TVR owners versus non-TVR owners. But the fact of the matter is, we have a greater need for long-term rentals and long-term housing than we do for short-term rentals. It's not that we don't use them, they're used, but we don't have the same demand for them. The demand is for long-term. And this is a long overdue discussion. It's a robust discussion. There are lots of things that people have to say on both sides, but it has to be done, and it should be done now. And I think we're trying to work through all the things we can do to try to reach compromises, whether that's rezoning certain properties or however we'd have to do it. But right now, to answer your question, yeah, most of the money does not stay on Maui. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank
Good to see
you.
you, Jeremy.
Thank our team here. They'll be hanging out. It's been a long day for them, but mahalo for the big group. Take care.